See this chapter number 4, income from salaries. So first we should know what do you mean by salary and what and all included under the head salary. Salary means some kind of monetary benefit given to the employee or for the work done. It is one kind of remuneration given to the employee for the work done by him. So that is known as salary. So now we are going to discuss all the theory parts regarding income from salary that we have to see now. So now you need to know the rules, that's it. You no need to go in deep, just you need to understand. See this chargeability of salary. If you see under the section 15, the following income shall be chargeable to tax. So what are those? There are 3 points given. Any salary due from an employer or former employer to an SSE in the previous year, whether paid or not. That means if an employee is due of receiving any salary from employer in the previous year, if it is paid also, it is considered as salary. If it is not paid also, it is considered as salary. Then similarly, there is any salary paid or allowed to him in the previous year by an employer or former employer, whether due or not. That means any allowance or if any salary is provided, in that case also what happens, that is treated under the salary, that is treated under the head salary. Yes. Then any arrears of salary paid or allowed to him in the previous year by an employer or former employer, if not charged to tax in any earlier previous year. So we are discussing about chapter number 4, income from salary. Under that, first one is chargeability of salary. So in short, you can say salary means it is an amount due to an employee from an employer in the previous year. So that is what it is given. It may be any arrears. Arrears means what? Suppose a 2 to 3 months salary is not given and it is due and it is given at a time. In that case also it is treated under the head salary. Now you are due of getting salary in the month of September, but you are not getting it. In that case also that is considered. Anyways, you are getting it at a later date. So that is the meaning of this one, chargeability of salary. So now, before solving the problems under this chapter, we need to discuss all the theory parts. So one by one we have to go through. So now, following are the rules governing salary. So what and all very important, employer-employee relationship. So if there is no employer-employee relationship, then there is no salary. That is basic thing. So what and all cannot be considered as salary. MLA or MP is not considered as employees of the government. Suppose MLA receives salary or MP receives salary, in that case it is cannot be taken under the head salary. Similarly, director receiving the fees can't be considered as an employee of the company. So any remuneration paid to the director doesn't come under the head salary. Place of accrual where it is arising. That is nothing but generally from India. So are you getting this? Any doubt regarding this now? Can you tell me about theory part? We have to go through this one. Oh, that's it. Anything you want to ask regarding this?
No, sir.
See, income from salary. All these points we have to go through once. Then third one, salary and professional income distinguished. That means for professional income there is separate head. That is income from profit and profession, income from business and profession. So that is comes under section 28. So professional income you have to show under separate head, income from salary under separate head. Then fourth one comes is a receipt from person other than employer. So what do you mean by this? If any income is earned from a person other than the employer, it will be taxed under section 56. Under section 56 is nothing but income from other source. That is head number 5. Even if it accrues by a reason of his employment. For example, valuation of remuneration received by college professor, tuition fees, etc. So this is the meaning of this one. Suppose why it is doesn't come under salary, because remuneration received by the college professor is not from his employer. Remuneration given by some other authority, that is from some college authority, some other college he goes for valuation. There he is getting the remuneration. That is why it doesn't come under the salary. That is nothing but valuation of remuneration received by the college professor, or tuition fee also doesn't come under the head of salary. Then fifth one is application of salary. What do you mean by application? It is one kind of voluntary foregoing of salary. What do you mean by voluntary foregoing? You are saying that you don't want salary. Even though you are receiving salary, that you are saying that I don't want salary, give it to someone else. In that case also it is fully taxable, because in the name of that person salary is drawn. That is nothing but in the name of SSC salary is drawn. That is why application of salary is also taxable. Tax-free salary. What do you mean by tax-free salary? When an employee is paid tax-free salary, the amount of tax paid by the employer on behalf of employee will be added to the salary received by him. There may be what happens TDS, tax deducted at source. Sometimes employer has to deduct certain amounts from employee's salary. In that case, at the time of calculation, that such deduction should be added back. Then surrender of salary to the government. So if employee surrenders the salary or gives the salary to the government, in that case it is not considered. It is excluded while calculating taxable income. Salary from more than one employer is taxable. Suppose you are working for two people or two employer. In that case, that total salary is combined together and it is taxed. Then salary must be real and not fictitious. If there is no intention to pay and receive salary, then it is not taxable. That means you have to work and someone have to pay. If there is no such thing, then it is cannot be considered as salary. Then deduction from salary. What and all deduction? Compulsory deduction by the employer from the salary are merely application of income. Hence, if net salary is received, such deduction must be added back. That is nothing but if employer deducts something from your salary, while calculating the salary, you have to add that thing. Family pension. Any family pension received by the widow or legal heir of deceased employee is taxable under the head income from other source. Very, very important. Family pension, income from other source. It doesn't come under income from salary. That is our pension received by the widow or legal hire of the deceased employee. That also comes under income from other source. Salary grade. What do you mean by salary grade? It refers to the salary at the starting point and annual increment thereafter. Suppose 8,000, 250, 10,000. What do you mean by this? 8,000 dash 250 dash 10,000. Can you explain me this one? Salary grade. Can you explain me? Anyone? Anuj? Anvit? Can you explain the salary grade? Salary grade means 8,000, 250, 10,000. If that is given in the question, in that case 8,000 is for a starting salary, and after 1 year, what happens? You'll get the increment of 250. That is the meaning of 250. Dash 250 means. So next he will get 8,250 for the next year. Then after one more year, he will get again 250 increment. Like this, it goes on till 10,000. That is the meaning of this one. Have you understood now? 8,000 next year,
In,
8,250. Hmm. Anuj.
it goes on increasing. That is called. No?
Yeah, it goes on increasing. 8,500, 8,750, 9,000, 9,250, 500, 750, and 10,000, like that. So that is known as salary
Okay.
grade. Yeah. Then due date of salary. Due date of salary, there are two category of employee. One is government employee. For them, first of next month. Suppose you are working for the month of April, they will get the salary May 1st. In the case of non-government employee, it is at the end of each month. That means if you are working for the month of April, at the end, that means 30th April, you are getting the salary. So due date of salary is also important. So all these things are there in salary. Following are the rules governing salary. So after knowing all these rules, next thing we have to see is monetary emolument under section 17 clause 2. What do you mean by monetary emolument? Can you tell me? What do you mean by monetary emolument? Tell me, what do you mean by that? Monetary emolument. It is nothing but in addition to the salary, what and all facilities given to the employee. So that is known as
The
monetary
development.
emolument, isn't it? So suppose a basic is given. In addition to that, DA may be provided, DP may be provided. DA means dearness allowance or dearness pay may be employer is providing, or else HRA is provided by the employer. In that case, what happens? Your salary increases because suppose basic is 57,000. After adding all the elements, what will be your salary? Let us say the salary comes up to around 80,000. So your total salary then calculated as 80,000, isn't it? Basic plus all the allowance given to you. Any doubt?
Understood, sir.
Understood. So this is very
Yes.
simple. So see this, it includes basic DA, bonus, commission, fees, advance or arrears of salary, taxable gratuity, annuity, pension, profit in lieu. Profit in lieu of salary means other than salary if you are getting any profit. RPF means what? Can you tell me? What do you mean by RPF? What do you mean by RPF? Recognized Provident Fund. Recognized Provident Fund contribution by the employer and interest thereon to the extent taxable and taxable allowance. It includes everything but excludes non-monetary benefits. So what is a non-monetary benefit? It is nothing but one kind of requisite. Suppose employer is given employee certain laptops, a house, so that and all not included. See this. It excludes non-monetary benefits or amenities such as free gas, electricity, water, free education facility, etc. From this deduction under section 16 clause 2 and 3 must be deducted. That is nothing but there is entertainment allowance deduction is there from the salary, and one more thing is professional tax deduction is there. For entertainment allowance deduction, that is under section 16 clause 2, salary means only basic. This is very important. After adding all the salary, there is deduction of entertainment allowance, and this is available only for government employee. So salary means only basic. It does not include DA, commission or any other allowance, even if they are considered for retirement benefit. Even if it is given in the question, DA enters the retirement benefit, you should not consider. Why? Because salary means only basic. So this is the meaning of monetary emolument. That is under section 17 clause 2. See, you have to know all these things. That's it. So it doesn't come in exam. These things doesn't come in exam. Just you have to know the rules. That is why we are going little fast, because now there is a lack of time. Suppose exam is there in January, then there is a lack of time because only 10 to 12 hour we are getting, and we are pending with two chapters. Now this is chapter number 4. So any problem? You can tell me now. Anuj, Anvit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is your take? When will be the exam? January or March?
No idea, sir.
So it is not decided. It is not decided now. Some are saying in January, some are saying it in March. There is a lot of confusion.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but we have to be ready for both the things. That is why we have to finish the portion by the end of December. Yes. So now this is monetary emolument under section 17 clause 2. Then there is allowance. What do you mean by allowance? For various activities, some allowance will be given by the employer to employee. So suppose you are using transportation to go from one place to another. That is called transportation. That allowance is given. Then suppose you are staying in hill station area. For that also allowance is given. Suppose you are doing underground work. Underground allowance is given. So various kinds of allowances are there. So what do you mean by allowance? Allowance refer to an amount paid by the employer to his employee in order to meet certain specific expenses incurred by him for discharging his duties. So work means there are a lot of responsibility to one employee. So for various kind of activities done by the employee, there is some allowance or benefit is given by the employer. So what are those that we have to see? All the types of allowance we have to see. First one is common, that is DA. DA is nothing but dearness allowance. It is paid in order to enable the employee to meet the high price. Suppose cost of living in the city is more. In that case, DA is provided by the employer. It is included in income from salary and taxed fully. So one thing you have to know in while we are discussing about allowance, whether it is fully taxed or not. So that we have to see. Sometimes unspent amount is taxable. Sometimes only personal usage is taxable. Official usage is exempt. That and all we have to see now. Similarly, what CCA? CCA means City Compensatory Allowance. Again, it is given in big cities for meeting high cost of living prevalent there. It is also fully taxable. HRA, you know, for that we have already discussed in the previous chapter. Section 10 clause 13a rules we have to apply. Certain portion is exempt, remaining is taxable. Then conveyance allowance. Conveyance allowance means it is an amount spent for discharging official duties. To that extent it is exempt. That means for official duties there is no tax. Suppose you are using conveyance allowance for personal purpose, then it is taxable. Then transport allowance. Transport allowance, what happens? Exempt up to 8,000. Suppose your transportation bill comes around 1,000. In that case, what happens? 800 is exempt, 200 is taxable. 3,200 for blind and handicapped. For them, it is more. For them, exemptable limit is more, 3,200 for blind and handicapped. Then traveling allowance. Traveling allowance, unspent amount is taxable. What do you mean by unspent amount? Suppose your traveling allowance is 30,000 and your expenses incurred is only 25,000. In that case, 5,000 is taxable. Unless and otherwise stated in the problem, we have to assume that entire amount has been spent for official purpose. That is about traveling allowance. Then comes entertainment allowance. So it is given in order to enable the employee to meet expenses incurred for entertaining the employer's customer. So why it is given? For entertaining the employer's customer, and it is given to employee. So it is first included in the salary, then deduction is given under section 16 clause 2. That means there is two-way deduction is there. One is two entries are there, not two-way deduction, two entries are there. First you have to consider entertainment allowance while calculating income from salary. Then after calculating the total salary, you have to give the deduction. That is about entertainment allowance. Then eighth one comes is foreign allowance. Foreign allowance, what happens? It is exempt. There is no tax on foreign allowance. Education allowance, very important. Education allowance, it is exempt up to 100 per month per child up to two children. That means suppose your expenditure is 300 per month per child, you are given with a benefit of only 100, remaining 200 is taxable. Suppose you are having three children, in that case what happens? Only two children it is exempt up to 100, remaining that one more child it is taxable. Hostel allowance exempt up to 300 per month. So these two are the very important, because in 16 mark problem it comes. Education allowance you have to remember 100 rupees, and hostel allowance it is 300 rupees exempt. On 300 no tax per child for two children. And again deduction is available only, exemption is available only for two children. Any doubt till here? Allowances, just we have to go through the rules, that's it. Whatever given in the rule, that we have to follow. That is why we are going like this. Anything you want to ask, Anuj, Anvit?
No, sir.
Yeah, tell me. If you have doubt, you have to ask. Tell me if you have doubt, you have to ask. Anvit.
Like this, no, sir. This all facilities which they give. For that also rules will be there, sir.
Sorry, for which facility?
These allowances are like every the extra facilities, no, sir.
Yes. Suppose if one
PF.
person is doing a overtime duty after 8
Yes.
p.m. also if he works, in that case additional benefit is given to him, overtime allowance like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Got it, sir.
Yes, yes. So now next is fixed medical allowance. In the case of fixed medical allowance, fully taxed. Tiffin allowance, fully taxable. See, like this allowance 30 is given. So we cannot discuss each and everything. We have to just know what is taxed and what is exempt. And this doesn't come for examination, but some allowance will be asked in 16 mark problem. That is why we have to know all these things, all 30 allowance given. Tiffin allowance fully taxable. What about daily allowance? Daily allowance amount spent for official purpose no tax. If it is for personal purpose taxable. Unspent amount taxable. Academic and research allowance no tax exempt. Uniform allowance exempt from tax. What about helper allowance? Helper allowance is exempt to the extent of actual amount received or amount spent for that purpose, whichever is less. So that is of helper allowance. Then special allowance, it is exempt to that extent. That means whatever the amount incurred by the employee. Personal expenses allowance, allowance exempt up to 70% of the allowance. It is 70% of the allowance or 10,000 per month, whichever is less. This is about personal expense allowance. Suppose your expenses are 20,000. In that case, 20,000 into 70%. That is 14,000. 14,000 or 10,000, whichever is less. That means you have to take 10,000. Yes. Then servant allowance fully taxable, non-practicing allowance fully taxed. What do you mean by non-practicing allowance? Suppose if the terms of employment provide that you should not carry this particular business after the retirement, so you should not work with the other firm. In that case, what happens? Non-practicing allowance. It is fully taxed. Warden allowance fully taxed. Overtime allowance taxable. Principal's allowance taxable. Deputation allowance taxable. Family allowance fully taxable. Tour allowance, it is for official duty. Unspent amount is taxable or else fully taxable. Underground allowance 800, up to 800 it is exempt. If it is more than 800, taxable. Fixed leave travel allowance, it is fully taxable. So all 30, 28 we have seen now, all 28. So can you remember all the 28? Yes. Can you remember, Anuj, all the 28 now rules, which is taxable and which is not? Whether it is possible?
No, sir. You have
Not
to read
possible.
it thoroughly.
Yeah. So only way to understand this, you have to read that. One or two times if you read, then something you will remember what is taxed or not taxed. And if you solve more and more problem in that, not all the allowance is asked. Some common allowance is there, like education allowance, then hostel allowance, DA, CCA. So those are common allowance asked in every problem. So that you have to see what is the rule for certain allowance and education allowance. Yeah, same thing. So all these things now you have to go through once again. That is about allowance. So till now we have discussed what is salary, what is the taxability of salary. So salary means what? Salary means the amount given for the work done by the employee. So here salary means we are talking about the salary of the previous year. It may be paid salary or due salary. It may be arrears of salary also. Then we discussed about what are the rules governing the salary. Then there is a allowance. Allowance also we have seen now. Then there is a next thing comes is perquisite. What do you mean by perquisite? Can you tell me what do you mean by perquisite? It is a non-monetary. It is one kind of non-monetary benefit given to the employee by the employer. Any casual emolument in addition to salary or wages, it may be in cash or in kind. So usually it will be in kind, not in cash. So in addition, perquisite are the benefit in addition to the normal salary. So can you give me the example for perquisite? Suppose house is given. So in this examination point of view, very important one is rent-free accommodation. From that 8 marks problem comes rent-free accommodation. 8 mark problem regularly asked in the examination. That is we have to discuss that one. Then there is a deduction under ATC. That also one more 8 mark problem is there. Then income from salary 16 mark 2 problem is asked in section C. That also we have to see. So chapter number 4, income from salary, is very very important from the point of view of examination. Almost half of the marks you can score if you know this chapter. Yes, so we are discussing about perquisite. So it may be cash or in kind. Generally it is in kind. Suppose any house is given by the employer to employee, in that case it becomes perquisite. Suppose any laptop is given by the employer to employee, in that case again it is a perquisite. So anything addition to the salary, it is perquisite. Suppose furniture is provided by the employer to employee, in that case also what happens, it becomes perquisite. So as per section 17 clause 2 of the Income Tax Act, perquisite includes. So first one, value of rent-free accommodation provided by the employer. So under that there are various cases. One is it is a own house. So first thing we have to see is that whether it is own house of the employer or not. How, and one more thing is if it is a rented house by the employer, for that there is separate rules are there, that also we have to see. Then second one, value of concession in a rent in respect of accommodation provided to the SSE by the employer. So what do you mean by house at concessional rent? Concessional rent means suppose 8,000 is a rent of the house, then employee may be asked to pay only 4,000, and that 4,000 is deducted from this one RFA calculation. That is about concessional rent. Then third one, the value of any benefit or amenity granted or provided free of cost or at concessional rate to the specified employee. So specified employee means under Income Tax Act certain employees are mentioned. Usually government employee, if any additional benefit is given, in that case what happens, it becomes perquisite. Suppose car is given to the employee, government servant, so car is given, it is one kind of perquisite. Gas, electricity, water, yes, additional benefits. Then amount paid by an employer in respect of any obligation which otherwise would have been payable by the employee. That means instead of employee, if employer pays certain amount, in that case also we can consider this under perquisite. That is point number 4. Then point number 5 is sum payable by the employer whether directly or through a fund other than RPF. See, there are various types of fund. Provident fund is there. Then SPF, statutory provident fund, recognized provident fund, unrecognized provident fund. So various things. That is separate concept is there. That also we have to see. Unrecognized provident fund. Then superannuation fund is there. So that and all we have to see later. Then see this, sum payable by an employer whether directly or through a fund other than recognized provident fund or approved superannuation fund or deposit linked insurance fund to effect an assurance on life of the SSE or to effect a contract for an annuity. So superannuation fund means it is one kind of annuity payment will be provided to the SSE or to a person if he register for this type of fund. So you have to pay certain amount, and after the duration you will be getting installment amounts. So that is about point number 5. Then point number 6 is about the value of any specified security or sweat equity shares allotted or transferred directly or indirectly by the employer or former employer free of cost or at a concessional rate to the SSE. So sweat equity share means what? Suppose if employee is doing some extraordinary work in the organization, in that case equity share may be given at a concessional rate. So in that case also that we can consider under perquisite. So before perquisite we discussed about all the allowance. These are the rules, just you need to know. All these things you have to read once, because in the problem some of the allowances will be asked, 16 mark problem, and perquisite I have already told separate problem will come for 8 mark. Yes. So now can you tell me if there is anything you if you want to ask, you can ask me now. Anuj, Anvit,
No, sir.
Anvit. No, Anvit, are you there? Yes. See now, after discussing what do you mean by perquisite, next thing we have to see is type of perquisite. So under that first type is tax-free perquisite. So tax-free perquisite means whatever comes under this category, there is no tax. It is exempt from taxation. What are those? That we have to discuss. So first one, the following perquisites are exempted in the hands of employee. So first one is tea or snack. Non tea or snack means what? Any kind of non-alcoholic beverages, or else snack provided during working hour. It is exempt from tax. So if you are working in office, there may be some tea break. Then a snack will be provided by the employer to all the employees. Suppose there is a 10 to 15 member working in one organization. Then if a snack is provided to them during the tea break, in that case what happens, it is exempt from tax. Food, similarly, food provided by the employer, it is also exempted from tax. Recreational facility, it is also not taxable. Medical facility, if you see, a provision of medical facility at the office is exempt. Telephone and mobile phone, again it is not taxable. Free education facility, so this is very important. Free education facility, many times this type of adjustment is asked in the examination. So this one we have to discuss now. See this: free education facility to the children of the employee in an institution owned or maintained by the employer, provided cost of such facility does not exceed 1000 per month per child. So what they are saying is, suppose employee is having more than one child. Suppose employee is having two children. Now take the example of two children, and one child is uh, doing his education in the institution owned by the employer or maintained by the employer. So there is one international school that is owned by the employer, and employee's child goes to that institution. In that case what happens, there is 1000 per month, it is exempt. 1000 per month per child, it is exempt, and if it is more than that, it is taxable. Suppose the expenses of education is 5000. Let us take the example now. Expenses of education is 5000. In that case, up to 1000 it is exempt. Up to 1000 it is exempt. After that what happens, remaining 4000 is taxable. So that is about free education facility. So have you understood this one? Free education facility. Have you understood this one? Free
Yes,
educational facility. Can you tell me, Anuj, what do you mean by free educational facility? Tell me. Yes, tell me. What do you mean by free educational facility? It is a facility given to employee to meet the expenses of his child.
from company, no, sir.
Yeah, from company. Yes. So
Yes,
that
sir.
is about free education facility. In that case, up to 1000 it is exempt per child. Suppose employee is having three children. For every child, up to 1000 exempt. Above than that, it is taxable. Similarly, computer or laptop. Computer or laptop provided whether to use at office or at home, no tax. Provided ownership is not transferred to employee. If it is transferred to employee, it is taxable. So now what they are saying, ownership, that is owner of the laptop is employer,
Company.
yeah, company, and company is giving the laptop to work from home or do the office work. In that case, it is not taxable. So these seven things comes under types of perquisite. Under that, first one, tax-free perquisite. Under that, we have discussed seven types: tea, snack exempt, food exempt, recreational facility if it is mentioned exempt, medical facility exempt, telephone and mobile phone exempt, free educational facility. There is a rule: 100,000 per month per child. Computer laptop exempt. Yes. Next thing is perquisite exempted up to specified limit. Second one is exempted up to specified limit means some portion is exempted, remaining is taxable, like that. So now first one, valuation of medical benefit. Medical benefit comes under section 17 clause 2. So under that, if in the question they have mentioned fixed medical allowance, it is fully taxable. Fixed medical allowance is given in the question if it is fully taxable. If other medical expenditure reimbursed subject to the maximum of 15,000. What do you mean by reimbursement? Can you tell me?
It is returned.
Yeah, it is returned. Other medical expenditure reimbursed subject to a maximum of 15,000 means up to 15,000 it is no tax. And other than if it is 50,000 is a medical bill now. 15,000 there is no tax, remaining 35,000 taxable. Other medical expenditure means what? There are again certain rules are there. That and all is not needed. This is just rules. Yes. Then traveling expenditure. Traveling expenditure of patient and attendant for treatment abroad shall be exempted if gross total income before including the reimbursement of the amount of exemption foreign travel expenditure should not exceed 2 lakh. So what they are saying here, traveling expenditure of patients. Suppose for better medical treatment, if a patient has to go abroad, in that case it shall be exempted if GTI gross total income means what? Income from all the five head, income from salary, house property, and profit and business and profession, capital gain and other sources. If gross total income before including the reimbursement of the amount of exemption foreign travel expenditure should not exceed 2 lakh. If it is more than 2 lakh, then it is taxable. Then second one is free meals, tea and snack. Free meals we have already discussed, it is exempt from tax, but there is certain rules are there for free meals. Free food and non-alcoholic beverages provided at working hour or Sodex coupon or not or non-transferable voucher to use at eating joints are exempted to the extent of 50 per day. Suppose coupon facility is there. So in canteen and all coupon facility is given. In that case, that is exempt up to rupees 50. And if it is more than that, it is taxable. Free meals and snack, that is rule 3 clause 7 clause 2. That is point number 2. So all these things, whatever we have discussed till now, are not that much relevant. But sometimes in question you can see one or two adjustment regarding this. That is why we have to go through all these rules once. So any doubt you can ask me now. Any doubt you can ask me.
No, sir.
No, see again, the lot of theory part is there in this chapter. Lot of theory part, and after that, problems are also there. So now, from this chapter, what and all important I will tell you because this chapter is very lengthy chapter. So one thing important here is calculation of a rent-free accommodation that we are going to discuss. What are the rules for rent-free accommodation, and we have to consider in that case certain percentages and population of the cities we have to consider. Then rent paid by the employer if a house is rented by the it is a house is a rented house, in that case employer is going to pay the rent, isn't it? Even though it is given to the employee, employer is going to pay the rent of that house. In that case there is separate calculation. And cost of furniture provided, if it is owned by the employer there is separate calculation. If furniture is also rented or and employer is paying the rent, in that case again there is a calculation is there. That is about rent free accommodation. That is very important from the point of view of examination, 8 mark question. Then ATC deduction. ATC deduction means after calculating all the things like GTI, gross total income. After calculating gross total income, you have to deduct certain things. That is start from ATC to ATU. So under ATC there is a maximum limit of 1,50,000. Under that, if you have taken any LIC, then that comes under ATC eligible for deduction. If you have invested in any national savings certificate, then that also comes. Then if you have taken any house loan account scheme, if you have purchased any bonds, notified bonds, if you have invested in any equity linked savings scheme, so all these things comes under ATC. So ATC rules are very important, and we have to see what and all comes under ATC, what are eligible for ATC, and what and all not eligible under ATC. That is one more 8 mark question. Then comes this calculation of income from salary or calculation of salary. So that is 16 mark 2 question comes. So in one question you have to compute all the salary calculation. In another question, along with salary calculation, they may ask deduction under ATC together, A and B, like that. So we have to be ready for each and everything. So I hope you understood whatever discussed till now. Any doubt you can ask me.
No, sir.
No doubt.